This is the collision of common sense and comedy. This is Defenders Live.
It helps to turn mute off, I found out. Welcome to the show, everybody. Defenders Live. We are here hanging out. I've got a special treats for all of you. And normally I would try to do something serious or whatever. But I have a cute little story. Started, not quite a month ago. Sitting around trying to do things for the show, and I'm looking around, and I went to try and get the link for the show from YouTube because I don't trust just typing it in normal. I have to go through and say, hey, and pull the link directly. And so I went to YouTube, and I typed in Defenders Live, as I have done many, many a time. And then I pulled it up, and a picture appeared. That was not my picture. That was not the show's picture. It was not something that I was accustomed to. It was not right. Something was bothering me. And what really bothered me is that they had grown a lot further than I've grown on my channel. And I panicked a moment. There's another show out there called Defenders Live. I said, this can't be right. I knew this was coming at some point. It's Defenders. Not for nothing. Besides Doc Thompson calling it that, we started really rushing the timing with our calling it Defenders. Kind of coincided with the whole Marvel thing that was going around there for a while. And so it was like, oh, we're probably going to get in trouble for this, but we're going to do it until they say something. And nobody said anything. And so we kept on, and we kept on, and we kept on. And we started being less and less concerned with it, until a couple weeks ago. And then in somewhat of a panic, I reached out to said Defenders, and I said, hey, we have the same name. Is this going to be a problem? And I was told politely, no, this would not be a problem. And after about an hour conversation with the host, Miss Lara Thorson, we decided that how funny would it be to have on Defenders Live Lara Thorson from Defenders Live. Welcome to the show, Miss Lara. How are you?
I'm great, Dylan. Thank you for having me on.
No word. It's a treat. It's really a treat. It really is.
It's kind of crazy. It's kind of weird in some way that we share a name, but
well,
I think we're using it for good.
A lot of the guys, I assume, most of the folks on my side know why we have the name, like where it came from and everything else. The show was originally called Defenders of American Exceptionalism, and the dear Doc Thompson, God bless and rest his soul, couldn't. He just couldn't say that. It drove him nuts. And so eventually he just started calling it Defenders Live, and we ran with it. Yours, however, comes with a little bit better of a story, I think. Would you mind telling everyone who you are, where yours came from, and we can go from there?
Sure. Yeah. Well, my name is Lara Thorson, and I'm actually a firearms instructor with a company called Defenders USA. And I decided, 9 months ago that I wanted to start a live stream, and I wanted to do it live because very few people actually go live. They like to pre-record and edit, and I wanted it to just be real and authentic and in the moment. And so hence the name Defenders Live. it seemed like a pretty good fit, and I should have done my research a little bit better, Dylan.
Well,
I really didn't.
It is. It is a good fit, and there's nothing wrong with it. Again,
it's a good name.
It's a perfect name. It makes sense. Yours, at least, because you're with Defenders USA, correct? Is that that's the official name of the firearms? So to have a podcast based from there, known as Defenders Live, it makes perfect sense. It's the perfect transition. Yours is good in that direction. Mine came because the founder of the network we were on was too lazy to say our full name, which I will admit has become cumbersome. But your story's better than mine, I think.
No. I mean, we all have a story to share. I think all stories are equally important.
Anyway, so you are a firearms instructor.
I am.
How did you come to become said firearms instructor? How did that happen?
Well, it was not a goal of mine. It was not in the plan.
You weren't a little girl and, playing and going, mommy, I'm going to grow up and be a firearms instructor one day. That was not it?
No.
Oh.
Nope, not at all. Nope. I almost learned the hard way, the very hard way, that the only person that I can count on to be responsible for defending me is me. And so in 2016, there was an incident that happened in my life that woke me up in a really big way. And I was in a position where I couldn't call for help. I had no cell service where I was, and there were literally no humans near me to come to my aid. And so that woke me up because it was, I guess you call it close call.
Yeah.
Extremely close call. Probably the most scared I've been in quite some time. And it was a catalyst to wake me up, and I had to get training urgently after that. But what ended up happening that I didn't realize that was going to happen was once I went to my first training class, I could not stop. I became
addicted,
obsessed with learning everything that I could involving self-defense and firearms training. And so after a few years of that, I then was asked if I would be interested in becoming a firearms instructor, and that hadn't even crossed my mind. And so I kind of reluctantly dipped my toe in, and now, years later, here I am. I'm still a firearms instructor, and I cater mostly to the newer shooter. And as you probably know, Dylan, there is a huge segment of the population that are new gun owners right now. Over the past couple of years, gun ownership has skyrocketed, and the percentage too of women gun owners is huge. And so, I don't want to be sexist in saying that I can reach out to those women maybe better than some men can, but there are a lot of women that are intimidated by going to normal firearms training classes, and they feel more comfortable working with me, Yeah. So that's a gap I can fill.
That's an awesome thing. I mean, because
I train men too, but
well, yeah,
the women like coming to me.
Yeah, well, it's you gravitate to what you relate to what you're accustomed to, what you're comfortable with, and I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I'm granted I'm not a woman, though. This is 2023, and I can choose to be if I want to, but I can see where you as a woman probably going into this massive gun range, guns are all over the wall, different sizes and calibers, and nothing about nothing. And here are these guys who, may have known about this stuff forever or grown up with this stuff or what have you. And you just, you don't want to walk in there. You don't want to feel stupid, I guess is the best way to put it. You're afraid you're going to get laughed at, or whatever. It can be very overwhelming. And to see another female in there just kind of can automatically knock a lot of that anxiety down a lot. And that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I actually have an advantage because I look extremely naive, extremely unassuming. And I think that's an advantage that I have. But I can relate with a lot of these women, a lot of the newer shooters, because, what has it been, 7 years since I went to my first gun class? I still remember what that's like.
Yeah.
So I understand some of their hesitation and stuff. And, there's men that come in that feel the same way. It's not just women.
Oh yeah.
But I do enjoy working with them, and that's part of my superpower, right? I think that they can feel comfortable coming to me, and I like showing up the guys too, because like I said, I look very unassuming. And so when I kick their butt on the range, that's always like an added extra fun thing, and we all high five, mad respect, right, for each other. But there's a little competition going on.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with a little healthy competition, but it's good to have this training. Cause I mean, especially with the way things are going, there's all these, shootings, these public shootings lately. I don't like to call them mass shootings because I don't agree with the definition. We've talked about that, looked it up. It's like three more people in public getting shot. Mm-hmm. It's so rough. It's so vague. It's I don't like to talk about it like that. I don't like to call them mass shootings. I don't. But anyway, it's becoming more and more frequent, and you hear these people like the David Hoggs and all the left-leaning politicians are all wanting to, ban assault weapons. I hate that term, and it drives me nuts because an assault weapon is anything that I hit you with.
Anybody that wants to do evil to you will find any kind of tool they can in order to do that evil. And that's my opinion.
And that counts as an assault weapon. To be honest, you break the words down. Assault weapon. I hit you with anything. I could hit you with a pillow. That counts as assault weapon. Does it kill you? Does it put you down? No, but I committed assault with that weapon. I'm sorry. People think it is so deep and it's this thing. It's only this scary big gun or AR-15s. No. It is anything that you harm someone else with, even if it doesn't, again, a pillow. It's not going to really hurt them, but you're still hurting them. You're hitting them. You're becoming physical. You're assaulting them. And I hate that.
Yeah, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to place the blame on the tool that the person's using when really the person is the one to blame.
Right.
And if you guys want to hear probably the best person, I'm not over exaggerating, the best, most brilliant person to talk about active shooters and how to remedy this problem. Mm-hmm. He has real solutions for this. His name is Ed Monk. I interviewed him a few months back. His last name is spelled Monk. Last Resort Firearms Training. Look him up on Facebook or go to that episode that I did with him. And he equates every active shooter situation to boiling down to math and time. Because the more time an active shooter can stay active, the more deaths there are going to be.
Right.
So the argument of calling the police in order to come, well, how much time are you willing to let go by waiting for the police to come?
Right.
I'm not saying that could not take 3 minutes or 30 minutes, who knows? But if the rate of people they're shooting down in 30 seconds is even one, then that's too much time.
Right.
So the only way to remedy that is for a good person with a gun to be there.
Right. I mean, that's been proven time and again.
Right.
There was You have the situation. Was it in the one? What was the last one big one they were talking about? Was it in Tennessee? I think it was. It was this. That poor, God bless it. The three adults and 3 children that got killed in Tennessee at that school. The cops showed up in 14 minutes. 14. I mean, I'm sorry, but in the terms of time, like people don't realize how slow time really is. We really don't. Mm-hmm. We get distracted with everything that we have going on in our life. Whether it's looking at phones or no matter what it is in life, we think there's no time in the day. Put yourself in a situation like that. 14 minutes is an eternity. Mm-hmm. It's an eternity. Thank God.
Especially if you're there and you're hearing gunfire. Right. Imagine what's going on in those people's minds, right? I mean...
Right. I mean, I
don't even want to think about it.
No, I don't either. Because again, it's one of those situations where I may or may not carry. You'll never know. I know a lot of my guns were lost in a terrible boating accident a couple of years back. I took them all out into the safe and onto my boat, and then the boat sank. It's so tragic. All gone. Anyway, it's rampant around here. Don't come to North Carolina if you want to. It happens. But I can only imagine, just the thought of being in a situation where I don't have a gun and I start hearing gunfire going off. You know what I mean? And in that kind of a situation, that would just devastate me. But again, 14 minutes is an eternity. And people don't realize that.
I argue that if you think that you might be called to be a defender, you should absolutely get the proper training in order to do that. But you also should think all of those things through before something goes down, before something happens, because the second you pull the trigger on that gun, your life changes forever.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Oh, yeah.
Your life is going to change legally. It's going to change financially. It's going to change emotionally, socially. I mean, that's just the beginning. Oh, yeah. And I don't think a lot of people think about that.
No, it's a very, and I'm being a vet, it's a little different for me because that ship is long sailed and I've had time to come to terms with it. But when you're, somebody who is not, been prior military, somebody who's not been in that kind of a situation, but somebody who takes up, say a firearm or learns to do training or whatever and gets into that and just happens to be in that situation, it's you're, like you said, you will to carry the weight, even in defense of someone or multiple people, to know that you have taken a life. You're never the same. You're never the same. And it takes a very long time to kind of come to terms with that and to work through that. But you're right. A lot of people don't take a lot of that into account. It's a lot deeper than just, hey, I've got a gun, I'm going to stand here and block you. No, it's...
Right. Yeah. And that's the way a lot of my students coming into my class, not a lot, but some come in with just zero thought of that before, and thank God they came to the firearms training, right? Thank God they came to the class because, oh gosh, a large percentage of people will take a one-day class and think they're good for life, and it's a perishable skill. It's just like it's like working out. It's like reading your Bible. It's like anything else that you need. It's a muscle, that you need to continue to grow. And just when you think something, you don't.
Yeah,
exactly. You're learning more. And that's what I love about shooting. That's why I never get bored with teaching too, is because I'm always learning new things and I'm always imparting those things onto my students as well. So
heck yeah, man.
That's my job.
It's so much fun. I wish I could do that.
You could do that.
I could, but I'm not. There's actually a gun store just down the road that just opened a gun range. And I'm like, might need to go talk to them about that. No, I've got a 45 that's sitting in I used to have before it sank in the bottom of the lake that needed to be shot. Anyway, but it would be nice going back to the point of everything. It's with all the shootings and stuff going on, it's nice to have people trying to be trained. You know what I mean? Because that's one of the bigger keys about it. They swear up and down that, people are just going in there willy-nilly and we're blocking this. We need to have, background checks and we need to do mental checks and yada, yada, yada. Well, you're not going, there's no check, there's no law, there's nothing that any man could make that can predict the motivations of a heart. There are a lot of people who... Right,
and there's nothing that can stop somebody who is hell-bent on doing that as well. Right. So, yeah, I mean, this last shooter, I forget where he was. It was the guy, but I can't remember where he was. Maybe somebody in the chat knows, but he got his firearm illegally, right? Mm-hmm. So it happens all the time.
Right.
So therefore making more laws is not going to solve the problem. We've established that.
Yeah, exactly.
We know that's not going to fix it. You know what I really think the thing is, and Ed talks about this too, is that the real solution to this problem involves a level of violence that most people aren't willing to think about.
Right.
and the policy holders, the policies that are being put into effect, and the people talking about those policies are just pulling on the heartstrings of people who don't really understand, what it is it's going to take to solve that problem.
Right.
But the reality of it is, and again, go back to Ed Monk's interview, the reality of it is that it takes someone who's willing to stand in the gap and do grave violence to someone who's trying to kill people.
Right.
And they have to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why else are they targeting schools, Dylan? I mean, didn't the one shooter go to a school and then changed their mind and went to a different one that had less security or something? Is what I heard.
I think it was something to that effect, or they were going to do a mall.
Right.
I think it was the one in Tennessee, the Covenant one. I think the original plan is they were going to go to a mall. That was the original paperwork they found, or some manifesto, or some crapola thing, or whatever. They were the original plan for the shooter. He was going to go to a mall, or she. I'm trying to remember because it claimed the other way. I think it was a female who claimed to be a guy. Anyway, was going to go to a mall, and then realized that the security there was obviously too much, and so they're like, I'm going to go to what's a place that doesn't have as much security? Oh, my old school. I'll go. And yeah. And it's the one thing I've never understood.
Any gun-free zone.
Right. Well, but let's and then there's the banks and stuff that's going on now too, which is kind of, I mean, that's whatever to me. But what kills me is when most of these are school shootings, which is a gun-free zone, and then the people who are trying to get rid of guns or trying to control them in a horrible way are all about, well, we have to save the children. How come those are the schools are the one place that there's literally no, or not, I say not literally, but almost zero protection of any kind? We have security at malls. We have securities at airports. We have securities at municipal buildings and everywhere else, even in banks. But there's virtually the closest thing to a security that we have in a school is some guy maybe running a metal detector.
Right. And I'm not saying that every teacher should be armed. I'm not saying everyone in the school should be armed, but think if
I wouldn't be against that, but I'm with you.
What?
I said I'm not against that, but I'm with you. I'm not telling them they have
I'm not
to
either. But what I am a proponent of is that anyone who wants to be armed, who is called to be a defender, can be armed and can be trained up to do that. Yeah. Imagine if in that school there was just one person that could defend life. Yeah. Imagine how much different that could have gone.
Oh yeah, like I said, I think they should give teachers the option. If you're hired into, I think it'd be fantastic to allow a teacher.
I would teach classes for free, Dylan.
Yeah, well, I would if I was.
I've offered.
And they still said no. I think it should be part of an option. If I decided to say I'm teaching, which I could never do because I'd want to strangle some kids. But if I decided I wanted to teach history, or if I got into teaching in a public school, I think that there should be an option for me to be able to say, oh, and by the way, I am, trained in this firearm and this, and this, and this, and this, and I would like to have it in here. And you can have all of the checks and balances. You can have that weighed as part of whether or not I get hired or not. But I think that should be able to be an option that, because I have training and here's the credentials and you can verify it and blah, blah, blah. That should be an option.
I think in some states that is becoming an option if it hasn't already. I do believe in Iowa there are certain places that has
that'd
been
be
allowed,
fantastic. So. Because then it becomes the whole it becomes very similar to like in public with, just a concealed carry, period. You never know who's actually got one. So do you really want to be stupid?
Right.
Do you want to be my Huckleberry? Because I will be, but
Yep.
Anyway, I'm not against training. I need more actually. But actually, I'm just looking for an excuse.
All need more.
Right, but I'm just looking for an excuse to go to the gun range, to be perfectly honest with you. But anyway.
You don't need one.
I do. Anyway, Lara Thorson is hanging out from Defenders Lives, hanging out with us. We've got a whole lot more on the other side. A couple stories and more chat-chitting. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
In today's troubled world, our USA Armed Forces stand ready to protect you, your family, and our American way of life. When veterans return to civilian life, they deserve your recognition and support. You can help put vets to work by donating your car, truck, or van to Patriotic Hearts. Your donation will directly support programs to help vets find jobs or even start their own business. Donate today for fast, free pickup of your vehicle, running or not. Operators are standing by to answer questions about making a tax-deductible vehicle donation. Find out how you can make a difference in the life of a United States veteran. Call 800-209-6482 for 24-hour response. Call 800-209-6482. 800-209-6482. That's 800-209-6482.
This is Defenders Live.
Yes, it is. Defenders Live. Go to DOAE Show on the Twitters, and you can find it also on the YouTubes. You have to go there to DOAE Show on YouTube because somebody who shall remain nameless, but whose name rhymes with Lara Thorson, has taken Defenders Live YouTube. So, go. You jerk. No, it's
Whoopsie.
Well, again, we were defenders of American exceptionalism, which is really hard to say any other time. So we shorted it. That's what DOAE stands for, which I realized.
I get that now.
Yeah, which other people turned around and were like, "Dead on Arrival? What?" I'm like, "No, you're forgetting the E, you idiot." It's no. Of course, we kind of picked that one up too. We're like, it's not so good. But anyway, Lara Thorson from Defenders Live is hanging out with us. How do people find your show? How do they find you and the amazing things that you're doing?
Well, we just launched a website, defenders-live.com, so you can go there and get a good synopsis of everything that we do and see past episodes, see who our past guests are, who our partners are. Obviously, you can go to YouTube at Defenders Live, and you'll find it there, and on Rumble. And then we do have a Facebook group, a private Facebook group called Defenders Live with Lara Thorson. So my name is on that one, so it differentiates.
Yes,
definitely mine and not yours, so
right.
people will know, right?
And I've realized that when I get the website back up and running again, or get a new one back up, I just don't do -live. I may have to do like underscore or something.
Well, yeah, because I think Defenders Live is taken.
It might be. Actually, what we probably would have. I have no idea. No, what we probably would end up doing would be I would probably end up doing just throwing in radio show at the end of it, because everything else, like our Facebook page and everything, is Defenders Live radio show. So.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. So
you should buy that domain now, Dylan, just in case.
I would, except for I don't have money yet. I'm working on that, and this is why we're trying to grow. But anyway. Oh, so thanks for hanging out with me tonight. It's fun to have someone on.
You bet.
It feels
it's
like
fun.
so long since I've been able to talk to anyone, and I'm sure like the 3 people that regularly listen are grateful to not have Angry Dylan going. So it gets depressing after a while. So I mentioned this on last week's show, and I wanted to bring it up again. BioFire is selling a high-tech handgun that only unlocks and shoots in the hands of an authorized user whose identity is verified via fingerprint or facial recognition technology.
What could go wrong?
That's exactly what I said when I read that the first time on air. That's what I thought too. Now, on the one hand, this is cool. It really to remove it from the political, sociological area that we're currently living in right now. If you remove all of that BS. This is really kind of cool. If you add the rest of that stuff in, though, like you said, what could go wrong?
Well, my question is, how expensive are these guns going to be? And anything like that generally has a high probability of something going wrong with it for whatever reason. Just like when, remember the old stick shift pickups with the, you dim the lights and the floorboard, like that whole thing.
Yes.
Those are the best, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. I get why they're trying to implement some of these things as a safety mechanism.
Right.
But,
and again,
I still think that what's between your ears should be a huge safety mechanism.
It should be.
So,
and it won't stop. Again, going back to the true reason when people get, killed, God forbid, from a firearm, 9 times out of 10, if it's not an accident, it's a heart problem, which means it doesn't matter what's between the ears. The heart can never be, you can never, no matter what precautions are put into place, no matter what's done, you're never going to be able to detect a bad thing like that. So just saying. Oh, and by the way, you were asking, this current gun, the one where I'm talking about right here, starts at $14.99, and that's not $14.99.
Yeah, there you go.
And better yet, you can buy it, but it'll be a while before buyers get their hands on the product because the company isn't shipping out the product yet.
Who is manufacturing this? What company?
BioFire is the name of the company. Yeah. What it does is, if the computer would work for me, the 9mm BioFire Smart Gun is powered by a rechargeable battery. Let that one sink in for a moment. The company claims will allow several hours of continuous shooting or can power the gun, quote, for several months with average use, according to the press release. Now, I brought this up last week, and I'm going to do it again. How many gun safes do you know have power built into them that you could charge something with? I mean, I know they have some out there. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. But those are...
very few.
Yeah, top of the line, kind of big, That's how.
Gun safes aren't cheap anyway.
No. And then, like I said, then it's the charging. It's a battery. Can you imagine being in a situation where you forget to charge your gun?
Like, whoops.
Pardon me, Mr. Offender.
On,
Can
Mr.
you
Bad
hang
Guy.
on? Time out. Flag on the play. I need about 20 minutes.
Have a do-over.
Yeah. Can you come back in 20 minutes? I need to be ready. This is not charged yet. My kid pulled it out of the wall to plug in their iPad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
I don't either. BioFire's Guardian biometric engine integrates state-of-the-art capacitive fingerprint identification and 3D infrared facial recognition systems that independently verify a user's identity. Whichever recognizes the user first, that would be whether facial recognition or finger, the biometrics.
Where are they getting the facial recognition by? Like, you're not...
there was a small picture, and I can't pull it up right here. Looked at it a
I
little
hope
bit earlier.
whatever it is on the back of the gun.
It kind of is. It's more towards, of course, the gun itself looks like, and there's a YouTube video of it. It actually looks like a high point, which is embarrassing because it looks like a high point, and who wants a high point?
Well, my question is I get the facial recognition, but okay, what if you drop it in the dirt? What if you drop it in water? Or what if your hands are bloody and they can't read your fingerprints or something like that? I mean...
Well, and here's where I get confused is why the two do not work together. Like, why can't it be a 2-point verification system? Because
that would take even more time.
It would. But let's be realistic here. Because according to this a second ago, I'm double checking it to make sure, because it uses the fingerprint identification and 3D infrared facial recognition. Whichever recognizes the user first unlocks the firearm. Okay, so let's be realistic here. You have that gun. I come and I kill you. However, I kill you. Oh, look, I've got a gun. All I got to do is aim it at your face. You see, and then from that point, it defeats the purpose. If it was a 2-step verification, I think this would be fantastic, because then it really eliminates things. Anybody can aim it at the dead person's face and get, you know what I mean? Get it to work. But the one thing about this, and tell me what you think. I don't know. The biggest fear for me on this is it's all based off of fingerprints. It's all computerized. It's all digital. How do we know it can't be hacked? It can be. Namely, the federal government, who decides one day, due to red flag laws that they now have in place in said states, and, oh, by the way, we now have all of your stuff and records seeing that you bought this. Oops, you can't have a gun anymore. And hit the button, and you're done.
Just shut it off.
Right. Yeah. And all because of some stupid...
That was my first thought as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, again, if you remove the insanity of the world around us right now, this is fantastic. This is fun. This would be cool. This is definitely a safe thing to have. To me, this would be, free market at its finest. You know what I mean? We're trying to upgrade. We're trying to improve. We're trying to save people while at the same time allowing people protection, allowing people to have, enjoy the recreation of shooting, whatever. But if once you kind of take it all in with the way the world is right now and everything, this to me is a recipe for disaster, pure and simple.
I agree.
Because, like I said, you're going to have a gun that's suddenly not charged, and like I said, the government hits the button and you're not allowed to have it. So it's just...
Yeah, and I do think the price point is an issue as well, because, a lot of the people that I deal with wanting to defend themselves don't have a ton of money to spend on a gun. That's quite a lot to spend on a gun.
Oh, no, it is. And the only reason why that doesn't bother me is because I look at it like, again, removing stupidity from society, okay? And looking at it for what it is. To me, this is no different than when we had flat screen TVs, LCD, and when HD, when all that came out, Will it take time? Sure. Is it going to be insane at the start? Absolutely. But as time goes on, as demand starts to skyrocket, as more people start jumping on that bandwagon, that price will eventually drop. I'm okay with that. I don't like it. I'm with you, though. Like, at this point, like, it's going to take somebody who's got way more money than me. Right. But I'm okay with it. But it's, you're talking about something that's going to head south real quick if you're not careful. But if you get a chance, like, it's they actually have, like, a YouTube video, and it has a cute little green light. It actually will tell you, the little green light will tell you if there's one in the chamber or not.
Are you serious?
It's pretty, again, as a gun and everything else, it's kind of slick looking. It reminds me very much of a 9mm high point, which I used to have. I mean, it's a gun. We're not going to talk about high points tonight. We'll come back another time and we can discuss our favorite guns or what have you, but that one was not.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with my traditional guns forever.
I did. I think I would rather have a flintlock by the time instead of a
It would be more reliable, I'm sure.
instead of a high, well, okay. As much junk as to talk about a high point. There was. Have you ever heard of? And I'm sure you probably have of Demolition Ranch.
I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. Well, he and this guy in particular took an episode one day where he went and tested out different pistols and different range, and he put them through hell. Soaked them in the mud, did all these things, drove over them, all this stuff. And oddly enough, the high point was one of them he was doing it to, and it was one of the few that actually held up to the end. Oddly enough, it is a reliable gun to a degree. I don't like it. It felt.
What other guns did he try? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, he was doing like the Smith and Wessons. He was doing Glock. He was doing Taurus. All the big names, and all around, and obviously the same caliber. And he tested all kinds of different stuff out, and the high point 9mm held its own. It was fairly reliable. Like he threw one into not just put it like into pond water. Like he put it into the pond and shoved it like under the mud and let it sit there for a while, like a day or two. Like seriously. And then he pulled it out, put bullets into it, shook it out, whatever, and pow, 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 and it worked.
Wow.
So I was like, okay.
I'm definitely biased on gun brands. I've tried a few. I've not tried High Point, but I have tried quite a few.
High Point is, to me, if you desperately need to have a firearm, and you don't have a lot of money, especially again after having seen the video. Now I will talk junk up and down to you about it. I really will. But I've had one. It's a gun. It's reliable. It's not expensive. It works. It will get you through as you need it. If you just need something like you live in a bad town or a bad spot of town or whatever. You want that kind of protection. Yeah. It's good to have. Is it Smith & Wesson? Is it Taurus? Is it Glock? No, it's not. But will it fire a bullet and stop someone who's trying to harm you or break into your home or harm someone around you? It will. And I can't poo-poo that. I can't.
No, a reliable firearm is just that.
Right.
So,
now, I didn't like it because personally the handle is... It's very plastic. It almost feels like a toy. It does. But the top, where the slide, the barrel, everything that actually is the gun, the everything is all metal. So it's a really weird. It's weird. It just feels weird to hold. It feels weird to have.
But, each their own. Everyone has preferences, and that's a debate that you can.
Oh yeah, you
take that for hours. With people.
One day we may have to have that one, but
Oh, I'm not afraid of that.
Yeah, well, I'm not very good at it, but it'd still be fun. But talking about good people with guns and stuff, a Delaware homeowner turned tables on two armed men who police say broke into his residence Tuesday night, shooting one of them dead and wounding another. Let's see. Newcastle County Police were called to the first block at Clipper Court in Glasgow, which every one of us knows exactly where that is in Delaware. I mean, we were just there yesterday, before 9 o'clock. That's a lie. I'm never there. I have no idea where that is. I realized it halfway through reading these things when you start giving locales that most people have no idea where this is, and I don't know why I bother to read it, but I do anyway. Detectives learned that two men, a 25-year-old who will be identified once his family is notified, and 20-year-old Nadir Yvette broke into the victim's home, according to the Delaware news outlet. A third man, 24-year-old Malik Denson, remained outside the home as the getaway driver in the quote-unquote targeted attack. That is according to the Delaware Online. Investigators said one of the suspects knew the victim. Well, I kind of would hope the three of you would know each other. But, if you're going to commit a crime. Everett and a 25-year-old male threatened the victim with a gun and began removing miscellaneous property from the house, according to police. The homeowner, however, flipped things around and in somewhat of a lethal fashion. Police told the Delaware Online that the victim got a gun, of his own and then shot at Everett and the 25-year-old other guy. The 25-year-old, who hasn't been named yet, has died at the scene, adding that Everett ran from the home after being shot multiple times, to which Dennison then took him to the hospital. The getaway driver took him over there. The police arrested Dennison and Everett at the hospital, according to the outlet.
Poor choices.
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Yeah, don't go to stupid places with stupid people.
Yeah, to do stupid things against other people. The homeowner had been shot in the lower extremity, quote unquote, the outlet said, adding that police began first aid of the homeowner before paramedics arrived. The police said that he was taken to the hospital in stable condition. Everett was from Philadelphia. It's a long drive. Was charged with numerous felonies, including assault, burglary, aggravated menacing. That's funny. Gun charges and wearing a disguise during the commission of a felony. I'm going to pause there for a moment. I didn't apparently Delaware is really weird. I didn't know that was a thing. Wearing a disguise during the commission of a felony. Now,
I wonder what it was.
I'm sure it was probably like a mask or something of some kind, but here's where I'm stuck at. We just come out of COVID.
No.
Like, he could have just been cautious to not catch COVID wherever he went. It was wearing a regular mask. Can you get in trouble? Could that have counted? I mean, it probably can, I guess. I don't know.
He'll have to prove that in court, I guess, huh?
Right. It's a weird one.
Or maybe it doesn't matter.
I don't know. Maybe it's like any other time you get a ticket or you get pulled or, or something happens, you get arrested or whatever. They just kind of just throw everything to see what sticks at that point. It's like, here's a laundry list of things that you can get in trouble for, and we're going to hit you with all of them. So I don't.
There is one thing in that story that piqued my interest, and that is the homeowner that got shot. You said one of his or her extremities.
Yeah, I got shot in the lower extremities, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another good reason why, if you own firearms, you also not only should have medical training, but you should have a trauma kit.
Right.
In your house, on your person, if you're at the range, in your car. I have one in all those places, and I know how to apply a tourniquet. I know how to handle any kind of trauma, especially from a gunshot wound. Right. And that's partly because I'm a firearms instructor, and that's kind of a good thing to know if you're going to be handling a bunch of people who are new shooters. Right. Because it's a good thing to know and have that medical training. But anyone that owns a firearm, or anyone in general, I mean, you don't even have to own a firearm. I think that's another thing a lot of people don't think about. Right. I was just getting ready to say the same thing. And we've mentioned it like earlier, but there really is a lot that goes into I say responsibility of firearm ownership. Absolutely.
It's not just like you said. You have to take in the fact that somebody's going to get hurt. That's the point. A gun does nothing else. Let's be realistic. A gun doesn't do anything else but hurt something. It shoots. It fires a projectile into what should be someone doing yourself or others harm. Okay? It's not a remote. You can't do anything fun with it. I mean, you could do fun. Target shooting is fun. But you get my point. You can do fun things. Right. It doesn't scramble eggs. It doesn't babysit your children. Ultimately it is a tool, and a dangerous one at that. Okay? So you have to keep those things in mind. The mental side of things, like we talked about earlier, that, when you take a life, or even shooting, let's say you don't kill the person. Let's say you just shoot them. That's still a lot to carry around, that you harm someone like that. There's that mental bit. And like you said, then there's the medical side that I know no one thinks about. Because they'll think, oh, well, I have it locked up in a safe. I have all these precautions. I don't need to have any of that because nothing's going to really happen. And if it is, it's the bad guy, and who cares? They never think, well, I could get shot, or someone I love could get shot. Part of having a defender's mindset is being prepared. And it doesn't mean being paranoid at all. I have a medical kit in my car because how many times have you driven by a wreck? Yeah. On the road, and how
you might be able to be of use until the EMTs could arrive or whatever. And maybe that's not what you want to do. You don't have to. I'm just saying that if you're called to do that, then you should probably think everything all the way through and get the proper training and consider all those things.
Right. Because the way I live things is it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Sure.
And that's across the board. I mean, actually, it would probably behoove everyone to have a good first aid kit in your home anyway, even if you don't have a gun. I mean, if you have children, kids do dumb things.
Yeah, this is true.
They do dumb things. And I keep telling mine, we don't go to the hospital. To a degree, they believe me. I mean, obviously, if it's real bad, we'll go. But for the most part, we're not going. We can.
Yeah, and the more that you know how to do at home, the better off you'll be.
Right, because you
can't just wait for somebody to come to your aid, no matter what that aid may be. You can't just wait for that. I mean, because time is of the essence. Right. That's what the recurring theme has been tonight, Dylan. Right.
That is the one thing. If I had that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves about the way society is today, is we have become. Not we, you and I have not, but the next generations coming up, they're very much, they're dependent on everything else. Something else is going to do it for me. I don't have to be ready for this. I don't have to know this stuff. The police are going to be there to stop this from happening. No, police don't stop necessarily crimes from happening. They do in rare instances, but for the most part, cops don't show up until the damage is done.
They do the paperwork usually.
Right. Yeah. They do the cleanup. They do the after part. They find out what happened to said person and whatever. They notify the next of kin. That's what they do.
And that's why this Defenders USA was started to begin with, because it was founded by someone who was in law enforcement for over a decade and in military prior to that. And so he got tired of seeing all of these victims of being the person on the scene after something had happened. And he wanted to try to help people so that they could become their own defender.
Right.
And that's how this entire company started.
That's fantastic. Because I really wish people were more like that. And it doesn't have to be necessarily about guns. Just in general, like I've noticed a lot of this.
It's not about guns.
It's about everything nowadays. Everything is, well, why should I cook? I can get DoorDash. Are you kidding me? Like
defense of your health, defense of your finances, defense of your yourself. I mean, there's so much defense that we need to learn that's not just gun related.
Right. And because you are the one person who will be with you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Forget even trying to take care of somebody else. You are going to be with you. Why are you waiting for someone else to come do something for you? And it's in everything, like you said, in your health, in your defense, in your if you're not going to do it, if you don't care enough about you, how do you expect other people to?
Right.
Which sounds cold, I understand, but it's true.
It takes a lot of responsibility, though, and it takes, what it really takes is a ton of honesty with yourself and a ton of accountability.
Right.
And
there's none of that.
I mean, we lie to ourselves all the time. We don't hold ourselves accountable. Yep. Let's be honest. Mostly we're lazy. We are. I mean, we have been spoiled so much in this country. Mm-hmm. And it's really sad to see.
Yes.
Because it is not going well because of that.
No, and that's the bad part about this is we've taken a lot of the blessings that technology and the country and God has given us, and we're just kind of like, this is how it's going to be. This is how we've become arrogant. We've become lazy. We've
weak.
Right. And that's,
we talked about that
in
our last conversation. Yeah, it's so true.
It is. It's sad that it has
good
to be like
times create weak men.
Mm-hmm. And then and how was it? Yeah, it's a good strong and then weak men create
hard times create strong men, right?
Right. And then
strong men create good times.
And then good times create weak men.
And good times create weak men.
Yep. And it's just a vicious cycle. And I don't like it. It sucks, but I mean, so goes the way it all goes, I guess. But anyway, Ms. Lara Thorson from Defenders Live hanging out with us. Thank you so much for hanging out and coming on here. You're such a good sport. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the way that you came to me about the whole Defenders Live concept, because that could have went really badly for both of us,
It could have.
for various reasons, but instead we kind of teamed up.
We did. Where can everyone find you again real quick before we get out of here?
Oh, well, I'm on YouTube and Rumble, Defenders Live there, defenders-live.com, or I have a Facebook group called Defenders Live with Lara Thorson.
Outstanding. And you can find us at DOAE Show. Use the hashtag ArmYourself so we can keep up what's going on. Make sure you, wherever you hear this, you like, share, comment, spread around. If you've got somebody you can't stand, make sure you send a copy of this episode or any episode that we do out to them, just to show them how much you don't like them. Thank you for everything. We will see y'all next week. Take care now. Bye.